Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Thiru Kumaran Saravarnan, co-founder co-founder and COO of XR Labs, an AR VR solution company. Thiru is a graduate of Thangavelu Engineering College. Hi Thiru, welcome to ELI.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for the introduction.
Thiru, would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
So, hey guys, this is Thiru. So, I run this company called XR Labs, which I started when I was in the second year of college back in 2015. I'm a mechanical engineer by graduation, and over the last 5 years, via XR Labs, I've been working with several Fortune 500s across verticals like aviation, aerospace, automotive, energy, defense, retail, manufacturing, etc. Right? And we've been working on solutions for the biggest of factories or refineries or even nuclear reactors, automotives, wind turbines, airports, whatnot. So it has been a fantastic 5 years. We just finished 5 years as of last week. Yeah, that's it about a small brief about what we do at XL Labs.
Okay. Thiru, tell us in detail how and where AR VR are being used, and what are the some of the best solutions you have built over the years.
Okay. So AR and VR as such, the near future is going to be used everywhere. Why I mean everywhere is that it is not really a separate technology as such. It's basically how you will be interacting with computing as a platform in the near future. Like imagine you all lose the touch screens and keyboards and everything, but you're going to have 3D based software that's going to be in your real life, or you can enter a software like a world and so on, right? That is definitely the future about 5 to 10 years from now. But today, AR and VR use of specific use cases across domains. Like you have virtual reality based simulators. You use a VR headset and you train for scenarios that is not possible to do in a real life. Could be a risky scenario, or an expensive scenario, or just a very difficult scenario to start with, right? Or also using AR and VR for sales. You can't carry your product or show your product to your customers every time in an actual product, especially with a situation like this ongoing pandemic, right? So AR and VR is used to drive sales as well, to show the product to the consumers. And finally, also AR is also used for giving knowledge support to the person who's on the site, to help him out solve a problem without having to wait for an expert to arrive at the site, which right now is close to impossible given the current conditions.
Okay.
So this is very small applications. I mean, a small list of applications, but then again, the entire list of applications is ever growing. Daily, we come across new use case for these technologies as such. And end of the day, the end goal is all work you do in your computer will now be transferred to an AR/VR world.
Okay. Can you give us some examples? What are some interesting solutions you have built for your client?
Okay, for example, we work with this one of the world's largest wind turbine company. They are the world's largest wind turbine company. So they had this problem that they couldn't take the people to an actual wind turbine to train them. So we built a virtual reality simulator where a person really wears a headset and he feels like he's actually on a wind turbine, can go on top of it, do the procedures and test himself and so on. And similarly, we work with a lot of initiatives with the Indian Defense Forces as well. In the Indian Army, just the expense for bullets spent on training runs into multi-crore a year. I'm not even talking about single digit crore. It's easily a two-digit crore a year just for spending bullets for training alone, right? So the potential for AR/VR has always been high, and there's multiple use cases that we have worked on. Most of the case studies on our website. For example, we worked with one of the largest furniture company to run a VR showroom without having a single furniture in real life. They were able to sell, a very large revenue entirely through virtual reality. So this
Okay.
is very small examples of what people are using it for today.
Okay. Now, when you speak AR and VR together, uh, can you tell us what is the similarity and what is the difference between AR and VR? Why did they both are used together?
Okay, so AR and VR together as a technology falls under this technology realm called extended reality slash facial computing slash immersive technology and so on, right? There's a lot of names to it. But what it essentially means is that you are now visualizing things that are not there, right? In VR, it means you're entering a world which is entirely not there, but you're made to believe that it's there. It replaces your current reality with an entirely different reality. But rather in AR, you're only adding things to the real reality. You're not replacing the reality with something else. Just adding a lot more unreal things to the real world. That is AR.
Okay. And which technology, AR or VR, is being used in business more than the other?
So in a company, we are working with every department here. For example, take any brand, we can work with the training department to build simulators. We can work with the marketing department to build sales campaigns. We can work with the maintenance team to build their field support tools. We can work with the design team to enable them to design in VR, so they can skip a lot of stages in the prototyping. We can work with their operations team to plan the assembly process. Anything, you know, any work that is done today can be actually translated into VR and more.
Okay.
We have worked on projects where people use VR and AR for data visualization. Right? There's really no realm that is untouched by AR and VR, because AR and VR at the end of the day is an interface to computing, right? And whatever you do for computing, you can work with that in AR and VR as well.
Okay. So now, can you give some of the very interesting examples where AR and VR has been used? May not be by your company, but across the world. What are some of the very interesting examples of AR VR in use?
Okay, for example, I don't know if how many of the audience would have watched this movie called John Wick. It's a very good action movie that released. It's by Keanu Reeves, and you wouldn't believe the entire fight sequence of that movie was all planned in VR because it involved a very complex set. So they designed the set in VR. The cameraman went inside the virtual world and planned all the shots, and the stunt coordinators entered the virtual world and planned all the stunts as well. And they recorded the entire film beforehand using this virtual reality suite. And while the set was actually done, it took them just 3-4 days to wrap up the shooting over that, right? So AR and VR end up being used for very creative use cases. Every once in a while we see a solution out there and go, wow, this is really good in use case as well.
Okay. From a very practical point of view, I think not many business people know about AR VR technology and how it can be leveraged for their business. So can you give us some perspective on how much it would cost? So let's take some examples. A person has a retail store of apparels or maybe kitchen equipments. How he or she can use the AR VR solutions to improve the shopping experience, and how much the real question is how much it will cost him to implement such a solution.
Okay, see, AR and VR such is a very subjective effort. Okay, for example, even when we work with the world's largest furniture company, and even in their portfolio, one product was not the same work as the other product, right? So it's very hard to give any kind of estimate as such, assign a price to it, right? But we work with many retail companies that is using AR and VR to showcase their products, and they see the value of it, because AR, more than anything else, it increases the purchase decision, because you're able to see what that sofa chair looks like in your home with your wall, right? Not only that, it also reduces returns. 90% of returns happens because the user didn't like the product and they're given some reason or other for the return, right? Now, using AR, when they're taking a decision about how it look like in AR itself, there is a lot more reduction in returns, and that is still worth the ROI for the sellers. So I can't give a number, on a very broad area, but it will definitely be a few lakhs. It is not definitely under like a lakh or 2 lakhs. Definitely be more than that for, let's say, about 20-30 assets.
Okay, so I'm assuming typically it will be post 10 lakh rupee budget.
I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny that. It could be less or more.
Okay. Okay, coming back to our usual set of questions, would like to know when did you think of becoming an entrepreneur?
Okay, that's kind of I really haven't been able to answer that question myself, because when did I? Okay, so if the question is about when did I know that I can make money on my own, it'll be in back in when I was an 8th standard, and I was assembling personal computers and selling it in the local society, right? And after that, I started basically freelancing and putting together a team for design, be it illustrations or animations and so on. And then it so happened that I actually chanced upon this technology called AR and VR, and one thing led to another, and less than a year after I came to know about it, we started up, and here we are 5 years later. So there's really not like a very definite answer to that question, but I think it's always been there that at least the confidence to go out there and try something out. I think I wouldn't even say confidence. That's I think being a student entrepreneur also helped, I guess, because I didn't have to worry about staying afloat. I already had a roof above my head, meals on the table, right? And I started up in my second year for AR and VR and other things at the first year. So I had literally 4 years to experiment and see where this goes. If it picks up well and good, if it doesn't, okay, it's okay. We can do studies or whatever. I think that's the kind of privilege that I started up with, right? It's something that I recognize and I value as well.
Okay. How much investment does somebody require to build a venture on AR/VR?
AR/VR unfortunately has a higher entry barrier because to develop AR/VR you need some high-end hardware, right? For example, the kind of VR headsets that came out and even the system that a particular resource needs. Let's say we're hiring a 3D artist, right? His system would be more expensive than his entire CTC, right? That's the kind of things that we have to deal with. So we started with the initial, like a friends and family fund. That's the only fund that we have raised, till now. We have been completely bootstrapped since then. That may, thanks to the co-founder, we were able to do that round, and that's it.
Thiru, my next question is, what was your first day of entrepreneurship like? What did you do on your first day?
I don't remember, to be honest. It's 5 years ago, right? Most probably would have been setting up the office, and setting up the computers. I think that would have been the first step, ideally. And I don't know, I'm not really sure. But again, it's very hard, for any entrepreneur to say this was my first day, right? Because which is really the first day? Is it the day that you got the idea, or is it the day that you started taking it seriously, or is it the day that you started talking to your team members who would further, in the future become your team members?
I think it would be the day you found your co-founder. Why didn't you tell us about that day?
Yeah, even then, right? It's a long conversation and go on, and it's very hard to pinpoint a date. To be honest, we take the date of founding as the day we open the office, and even that actually it's like last week of July. We don't know an exact date because we took up the office and did a lot of work, and we finally started work after a lot of time. But if you ask me, how was my first month of entrepreneurship? That is something we can, and I can answer. It's exciting. Please do. Because you're not committed to the idea, you're not just thinking about it, you're actually in it. You're rallied up a team, you got some funds, you're committed to this. You're going out there and telling people that you want to do this, do that for them, and that's a commitment, right? And that definitely feels different and feels a lot more thrilling than what was it just a small idea in your head.
Okay, tell us when did you get your first customer?
So we got our first customer about like 2 months into the starting up, and those 2 months we spent entirely building lots of demos and lots of use cases, because even on 2020, we have many people who do not know about AR and VR, right? And you can imagine what it had been in mid 2015. People couldn't believe the technology. Not many people actually understood it in the first place. No offense to them. I mean, it is quite an unbelievable technology, right, to its own right. So the first couple of months were actually spent on building demos, and we got our first client from a real estate company in 2015. And the client was very openly said, we have seen many other teams who come and pitch this, but we're giving it to you because you're young and we want to give you an opportunity. So we're really grateful for people who are, giving us the opportunity. And about that, we have had quite a good share of people who, wanted us to succeed. Be it our first client like this particular company, or be it the wind turbine company that we worked with. Again, that was a lot of things went good for us when we had no right, to have such a success back then. The second or third client was the wind turbine customer, and before that, we have never worked with any large company, right? And boom, before you even know it, we're now working with the world's largest wind turbine company. So a lot of things happened right for us, right? A lot of good things came around for us.
Tell us how you found your co-founder.
It's very interesting. The thing is, I don't know my co-founder apart from work, right? I haven't met him even a single day before talking about this idea to him. It's entirely through a mutual connect. We actually, I was looking for a co-founder, and he was looking for a co-founder as well. Not necessarily in the same domain, but once he saw this I mean, he's from an engineering background as well. He's from one of the largest, oldest engineering college in the country called CEG. And he's been exposed to engineering a lot more than I was, right? And he could see the vision, he could see the possibilities of what this technology could do to the world. So we just clicked and we started up. And 5 years later, we are still just the two of us at the board level. And that has worked for the benefit. I think it's very, I'm not a great believer in, starting up with friends because you will lose the only friend you would have at the end of it. Because already when you're starting up, your friend circle is going to get smaller because you can't invest the time and effort it takes to maintain that. And if you're going to start up, business with your friend, your friend circle is going to come even smaller. So I don't believe in that necessarily. So.
Okay. Okay. Thiru, tell us what is your vision with XR Lab? Where you want to reach?
So what's going to happen in the next 3 years? I mean, not even in 5 years. To be honest, a particular AR glass is on its way to me right now. It's being shipped, and it's really the future of AR, right? AR is now finally in a form factor of a sunglass, right? As lightweight as a sunglass, as small as a sunglass, and so on, but very capable as well. And you saw now Geo also has entered the market of a consumer AR through the Geo Glass device and so on, right? So the next 3 years is going to be consumerization of AR, which means how when iOS released, iPhone released, we had a lot of requirements in the industry for building iOS apps, right? So definitely a lot of use cases are going to come out for AR and VR application when these consumer devices actually launch in the market. And XR Labs with 5 years of experience and the kind of work we have done and the kind of experience we have across technologies, even in AR, VR, are well poised to ride that wave. And also 5G is going to come up, so it's going to make AR and VR even more powerful. Because 5G as such, even for telecom companies, it's just standalone 5G is not a great product to sell. Because today, if you think about it, 4G is more than enough for 99% of the population. In fact, still a large chunk of the population still uses 2G, right? The main reason to sell 5G would be to bundle along with use cases like AR and VR, where the content is rendered on the cloud and is being pushed to the device as an input-output alone. So you don't have to invest in a very high-end device for your glass. It could be very small and very cheap glass, but it could give you a very great AR and VR experience. And 5G as an industry has interest to actually drive this AR VR wave. And AR VR also definitely has interest in 5G because it's a mutual quid pro quo. And the best years of AR and VR is definitely ahead. And XR Labs is, the main vision is to bring in the transformation from 2D computing to spatial computing and be one of the top players in that.
Okay, so Thiru, the way I see it, AR VR companies are going to be service-based company, if I am not wrong, or am I wrong? Are there some product?
No, not really. So there are products coming out. There are many products coming out. We have built about 2 products. For example, in simulators, whatever generic training, for example, if you want to train in a forklift, we can build a VR simulator and sell as a product, right? And we are building paint visualization tools or artwork visualization tools as a product, etc. The product market for AR and VR is really, really big. The main reason why we started with a service approach is that, back in 2015, if you're going to build a product in AR, VR, no, not many people can use it because the technology wasn't really as good as it today. The education in the market was not there. And we as a team also did not know how to build an AR VR product. So we said, okay, let's start a services company. We'll get paid for R&D. Whatever we want to learn, we can learn, and it'll be part of the project that's being delivered. Great. And we're getting paid for educating the market as well. We go to a customer, we meet and tell them about AR and VR and so on. And when we do products, we would already have a clientele to sell. That's exactly what we're doing now. We are launching a couple of new products and we already started beta implementation with our existing clients for the services business. Being a services products company in AR, VR has really helped us. But it also has its own disadvantages like, the lack of focus you can give a product at any point of time, which we are now sorting out as well. We are spinning off entities separately. We're giving its own team, etc., manage, etc. So it's really a mix of good and bad, of our services company.
Thiru, can you give us some examples of what are some of the big AR VR products that are going to come up in next 5 years?
So one really big thing that's going to come, yeah. So one big thing that's going to come up is definitely, you'll be able to shop in AR, right? It's for example, it's already there in US. So Amazon has in US has started view an AR, feature where you can view the product, whatever you're going to buy in Amazon in your home. And the entire development of all those 3D models is actually done from here, from Chennai. There's a huge office that just ships out 3D models in the American market. And it's definitely going to be rolled out to the Indian market as well. So I think the first couple of things would be e-commerce, where you're viewing the products in AR and VR. And then would definitely be for consumers, entertainment, where you're playing video games in AR and VR, or of course watching movie. For example, if you're buying a really good AR glass, you don't have to invest in a TV. You can just view the TV in AR. You can place a TV anywhere you want. You can, if you go into the kitchen to work, the TV can come along with you, right? Uh, so I think that is entertainment and commerce is what we are seeing a great traction, and followed by that immediately would be productivity. For example, people want to type a word in AR, VR, or play a piano in AR. If it's a music creator or so on, or edit their music in AR through 3D waveforms. They can directly interact with the 3D objects, sculpt in AR, and meet people in AR and VR. With this Corona, I've seen many companies onboard AR and VR meeting rooms. You put on a VR headset and see literally everybody as a character and avatar, and be in a virtual room and interact and collaborate. So next 3 to 5 years is going to be really exciting. For even the consumers, you're going to see a lot of new technology that being readied for market and coming to you. To take up.
Got it. Thiru, tell us what are some of the challenges you have faced along the way while building this venture?
So the biggest challenge is since AR and VR as such is an expensive investment, right? From day one, we knew this is a B2B technology. It is not a B2C technology. It is not like Urban Lab or Swiggy that we can build for mass people, but it is something that specifically only companies can afford at the moment, right? At the same time, we also, even in companies, only the biggest of biggest had the budget or the appetite to take such risk, right? So definitely the entry barrier was very, very high for a company. Like I was 19 and my co-founder was 21 when we started, right? For people of that age to go and crack deals with MNCs that are really the best at what they do, be it automotive, energy, and so on, was one of the tough things. But I think we are also very privileged and lucky, and a lot of good things favored us as well. A lot of people saw the value in it. We had a lot of champions who rooted for our success and technology success, etc. So whatever challenges we faced were overcome with good people, right? Be it with the team. We had an amazing team throughout this journey. We always have never said no for a challenge, technical challenge or any other thing. So I think it's a combination of everything that actually made it worth the while. And yes, challenge was there, but it wasn't something that was unsurmountable or something.
Okay. Thiru, do you have a role model when it comes to entrepreneurship?
It's not just a single person. I really take, I just go ahead and take inspiration from any company for that matter, right? For example, let it be the recent acquisition of White Hat Junior, or the kind of company that brands like Freshworks or DateNView has built out of Chennai. Right? I've had the, being in Chennai also exposed you to this community, which has a lot of success stories as well, right? So it's really a lot of inspiration. It's not just a single role model. I think in today's world, that role model itself would have been a mix of other role models, So I don't think it's, we can say it's a single person who has influenced. At any point of time, multiple, ideas and multiple inspirations go into taking initiative.
Okay. Thiru, how do you compare entrepreneurship with a 9-to-5 job?
Well, the only thing that entrepreneurship is not is that it's not a 9-to-5 job, meaning it's 24/7. Right? When you're a founder, you can't plug your brain out of the work. Right? You can't isolate work and other things. I think that's a given. I think that's fair as well, because if you don't think about it 24/7, who else will? Right? It's not like the world stops after 5 p.m. Right? So, and we work in a global market, and as such, it's even if there is no, at any, okay, the biggest thing is you can never be up to date with your to-dos. You can never say I've done the things that's required for the day. Never. In the last 5 years, I've never been able to tick off my to-do list. It's either because new things add or the certain things take up the entire day, right? And the list can never be exhausted. It just keeps on growing. And even if you don't have anything, you still have a lot of things to go and see how we can improve and so on. So I think it's an entire journey. It's a way of life, I would say, running a company. It's not an activity that you do in just 9 to 5. And that also means a lot of sacrifices from you and your family as well. My family certainly has not got enough attention that any other 25-year-old would have given them. Okay. My dogs have not got the attention that any other pet owner would have given them, right? So that's the kind of sacrifices that everybody around you need to make. But I mean, it all in the hopes that, at one point of time you would be retiring early, if all things go well.
Okay, Thiru, this is my last question to you. We are almost up with the time. My last question is, how do you suggest our audience to start their journey as entrepreneurs?
So this is really something that I strongly believe in, right? So I strongly believe in the starting where you are and getting to where you want, right? Getting to where you want. For example, before I was in AR/VR, I was actually illustrating, and before that I was selling computers. Right, selling computers lead to me buying a computer, and using that computer I was illustrating. Using that money, I was able to get started with my investments in AR and VR. Right. So when I was selling computers, I never knew, and some years down the line, I would be working with the biggest companies on a very cutting edge technology. Right. But starting where I was essentially helped get where I wanted to be. Right. So it's never, you'll never be in a good enough space to actually start something, right? It's about start with what you have and work towards the aim step by step of where you need to be. It doesn't matter if it's slow. For many years, for example, I was working in the design field for close to a year before starting AR and VR. Till the day I saw AR and VR, I didn't know what I was doing next after the design, right? So it doesn't matter if things are not looking great. One day it will make sense, and one day you'll figure something out.
Okay. Thiru, before we end, is there a final message you want to leave?
Nothing else. I think if you have an idea that doesn't let you sleep, do think about it. Do talk to people about it. Don't hold it back saying, no, somebody may steal my idea. Ideas as such are not worth anything. It's execution that matters. So talk to people about it. Get started. Don't just talk about it. Do something about it. Put something in front of people. See if they pay for it, and so on. Or if they don't pay, see what is not letting them pay for it, and so on. Just be active about it. Don't have an idea in mind, and when you look at someone succeeding in that idea, you can't regret saying, what, I had this idea back then, but if only I started something. I think that is a very unpleasant feeling to have.
Right. Okay. I think that was a very lovely message. And it was a great pleasure to host you here at ELI. I think our audience would have got lifetime lessons from this video. Thanks for your time, Thiru, and our best
Thank
wishes
you for
for,
your
Excel.
Sure. Sure. Thank you, Priya. Thank you.
Viewers, you can follow and connect on LinkedIn. Connect with Thiru on LinkedIn by searching for Thirukumaran Saravaranan. Also, do visit their website by typing excellabs.co. So, whom do you want to have here at ELI for next episode? Do let me know in comments below. We will be back. Stay tuned to ELI.